I'm a former soldier. I served for 4 years. Today, I live with PTSD and a permanent disability. Most days I manage all right, but some days are harder than others. After the army, I started rescuing animals, mostly dogs that had been abused or forced into fighting. It gave me something to do, a purpose, a reason to wake up. But nothing could have prepared me for the message I got one grey Tuesday afternoon in the middle of a thunderstorm. A guy named Ezra, who sometimes helped with transport for rescue cases in northern Colorado, texted me. "You're not going to believe this. Someone just tipped us off about a bear cub being kept in a cage behind a mechanic's shop near the canyon. Looks like she's been in there over a year. You want in?" I didn't hesitate. "Send me the address," I replied. 3 hours later, I was standing outside a sagging building on the outskirts of Redwood Canyon. The rain had eased into a cold mist. The place reeked of oil, rust, and wet concrete. I knocked on the steel side door. A narrow-eyed man in a dirty tank top and camo shorts opened up. He gave me a once-over, probably taking in my combat boots and the way I leaned on my cane. "You lost or something?" "I'm here about the bear," I said calmly. "You've got 2 options. You hand her over now, or I call wildlife and watch this place get shut down." His jaw tightened. For a second, I thought he might slam the door. But he didn't. He turned and walked away, jerking his head toward the back. I followed. She was in a narrow cage next to a pile of scrap metal. The bars were rusted, the floor covered in dried waste. A young bear lay motionless inside, curled so tightly I couldn't tell how big she really was. Her fur was dull, her eyes half shut. She didn't react when she saw me, didn't growl, didn't move. She just stared. It was like looking at a ghost still breathing. "I'll be taking her," I said. The man didn't argue. She didn't make a sound the entire drive home. Didn't shift, didn't blink. Just sat in the crate like she had forgotten what anything felt like. I named her Marla. First thing I did when we got back to my place near Silver Ridge was stop at this little roadside diner where I knew the owner. They had a walk-up window and served ice cream to tourists in the summer. I got her a plain vanilla cup, mostly out of habit. I'd always done that with dogs I rescued. It was a way to say, "You're safe now." She sniffed it, gave it one lazy lick, sneezed, then looked at me like I was an idiot. But for the first time, her eyes held a flicker of something. Confusion, maybe even curiosity. Then I opened the back gate. I live on a few acres of fenced-in land, backed up against a pine-covered slope. The field out back used to be for the dogs. I set the crate down, opened it, and stepped away. She didn't bolt, just slowly lumbered out, one heavy paw at a time, sniffing the air like she couldn't decide if it was real. Then she dropped into the grass, rolled onto her side, and stayed there. She didn't sleep, just laid there like she was waiting for someone to tell her what to do. It took 10 baths. Full on, hose in hand, warm water in a trough, me crouched nearby humming whatever came to mind. I didn't force her, just waited. Let her decide. Let her come to the water. I talked to her about nothing, about the weather, the new fence panel I needed to fix, a book I'd tried reading. When she finally dipped a paw in, I swear I held my breath. Every rinse felt like peeling off a layer of prison. Her eyes blinked more. Her fur grew softer. She started standing taller, heavier on her feet. The silence between us became something I needed. She never made demands, never whined, just existed in this soft orbit near me. I'd be fixing something in the shed and feel her presence nearby. Not close, not watching, but near, like she was testing the edges of safety. Then one morning she followed me inside. She had never crossed the threshold before, even when I left the door open. But that morning, I was making coffee, and I heard a shuffle behind me. Turned and saw her massive frame filling the doorway. She stepped in like it was sacred ground, sniffed the carpet, sat near the window, watched me like I was the sunrise. When I dropped a spoon, she startled, then waddled over, picked it up in her teeth, and placed it beside my foot. That's when I cried. She didn't flinch, just leaned against my side while I sat on the floor, my arms around her thick neck, sobbing like I hadn't done in years. I started training her, not because I needed to control her, but because I needed her close. And I figured, if I was going to have a 200-pound bear living with me, it was probably smart to teach her some manners. People laughed. "You're trying to train a bear?" But they didn't know Marla. She learned quickly. Not out of obedience, but understanding. When I said wait, she paused. When I whispered come, she padded over gently, like the ground might shatter under her weight. I taught her to help me, nudging my dropped keys toward me, standing firm when my leg buckled, curling beside me when the nightmares came. Her rumble wasn't like a cat's purr. It was deeper, like a mountain humming. It resonated through my chest when she leaned into me during a flashback, and it always brought me back. Eventually, I started going into town again. Small steps, early mornings, quiet hours. She had a custom harness, secure, breathable, something a local craftsman helped design. At first, people panicked. Is that a bear? Is she tame? Are you insane? But then they saw how she walked next to me, never pulling, how she paused when I did, how her eyes never left me. After a while, the stares turned to nods. A few people even smiled. One girl offered her a piece of her granola bar, and Marla took it with the gentlest touch I've ever seen from an animal that strong. In summer, we hiked the red trails near Dusty Mesa. I'd drive us up at sunrise, let her lead while I trudged behind. She'd scale small rocks, paw at lizards, then trot back and nudge my hand like she was saying, "Keep going, slowpoke." In winter, she preferred the quiet pine paths along Willow Vale. Snow clung to her fur in clumps. She hated when it stuck between her toes, but never complained. Just sat sometimes and watched it fall, eyes half-lidded, lost in thought. Maybe remembering, maybe just being. She brings me things now. Little offerings. A smooth rock, a chewed-up stick. Once she dragged over what looked like an old hunting glove, sets it at my feet and then plops beside me, chest rising and falling in sync with mine. I think it's her way of saying, we're okay. Ezra visits sometimes, helps with vet checks and takes photos. One day he snapped a picture of me on the porch, dozing in the sun. Marla was curled up across my lap. Yes, all of her. Like a child who didn't know she wasn't small anymore. It's the kind of picture no one would believe without seeing. She's not tame. She's not broken. She's just Marla. Sometimes she disappears for hours into the woods behind my place. It used to scare me. Now I know she'll come back. She always does. With burrs in her coat or mud on her snout, looking satisfied. She doesn't know about war or trauma. She doesn't ask about the limp or the scar on my jaw. But she knows when I'm off, when my hands shake, when I breathe too fast. That's when she presses her bulk against me, head nestled beneath my arm, humming her deep, quiet song. She saved me, not by fixing anything, but by sitting beside what couldn't be fixed and making it bearable. There was one day I didn't get up, didn't want to, stayed under the blanket with the lights off, not caring if the world moved on without me. Marla didn't leave, she didn't nudge or whine, just climbed onto the bed, wrapped her body around me, and didn't move. For hours, didn't even go to her food bowl. That's how I knew. She wasn't just watching me. She was waiting with me. She has a favorite spot under the cedar tree behind the shed. Sprawls there when the sun hits just right. I once found her belly up, paws twitching, tongue dangling sideways, fast asleep. It was the first time I'd seen her fully relaxed in the open. That takes trust. That takes peace. One morning, I woke up to find her paw on my chest. Not heavy, just there. When I opened my eyes, she was watching me, breathing slow. I swear she was waiting for me to wake up so we could go walk the trail. We followed the path through the tall grass that day. I sat on a log while she pawed at a fallen branch. There was birdsong, the scent of pine, and her fur brushing against my knee. I thought, this is what I fought for. Not the noise, not the medals, just this. A moment like this. We don't do much, and we don't need to. Breakfast at dawn, short walks, quiet afternoons. She naps while I reread the same book 10 times because I keep forgetting the ending. She doesn't care. She just wants to be close. Ezra once joked, "You two need your own show." No one would believe it, and maybe they wouldn't. A disabled veteran and a bear who thinks she's family. But that's the truth. There are still hard days, when the pain flares, when the shadows creep in. But now, I'm not alone. I don't have to fight them off by myself. I've got her, and she's got me. That's the deal we made. She doesn't care what I did or didn't do. She doesn't judge the way I wake up sweating, gasping some nights. She doesn't flinch when I stare too long at nothing, or when I go hours without speaking. She just stays, close, unmoving. Her breathing, steady and strong, becomes my anchor. Sometimes, she's the only thing keeping me grounded in this world. We're both survivors, her and me. Different kinds of battles, same aftermath. I don't know what they did to her before she ended up in that metal cage at the sanctuary, but I saw it in her eyes the first day I met her. That same haunted distance. That same question, can I ever trust again? I didn't try to fix her. I just sat with her, day after day, until one afternoon she reached out, tentatively, cautiously, and placed her massive paw against the fence. I matched it with my hand, and neither of us moved. That was the beginning. We never looked back. I've seen cruelty, I've seen neglect, but I've also seen a bear press her forehead to mine and breathe with me. Just breathe. And that's how I know we're not done. There's still something worth staying for. That kind of moment doesn't come from nowhere. It's built, earned. Every meal I made her. Every hour I sat with her in the dark. Every soft word. Every moment I didn't turn away when she snarled or trembled. Slowly, her walls came down. And mine did too. Healing doesn't follow a straight line. It zigs, it zags. It doubles back and loops in on itself. Some days, it even disappears. But it always returns if you let it. If you're patient, if you believe there's more to life than pain, every scar has a story. Mine used to be stories of loss. Now they're stories of rebuilding, of trust, of the quiet courage it takes to start again. I used to be ashamed of my scars, physical and otherwise. I'd hide them, downplay them, try to forget they existed. But Marla never looked at me that way. To her, I was never broken, just another creature trying to survive. And maybe that's what I needed most, someone who didn't expect me to be whole, but stayed anyway. Some nights, we lie under the stars. She sprawls beside me, head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine. And in those still moments, I find something I never thought I'd feel again. Peace. Not the kind they talk about in speeches, the kind that whispers, the kind that waits, the kind that says, "You're okay now, you can rest." Marla's asleep at my feet now, twitching in her dreams, probably chasing butterflies through the trees. The fire's low. My tea's gone cold, but I'm warm, not just on the outside, deep inside. The world outside this cabin still turns fast and loud. It's still full of things I don't understand, things I'm not sure I ever will. But in here, with her, time slows, breath deepens, life softens, and that's enough. I reach down and run a hand along her back. She stirs, then leans into the touch. She doesn't speak, but her message is clear. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I. We've come a long way, a former soldier and a bear nobody wanted, finding peace in the ruins, together.